start the presentation. This is City Manager Rob Mays.
Thank you, Mayor, and I also want to thank you all for being here and taking time to become educated on the city finances. I'm going to be kind of at an angle here because I'm going to be referring to the screen with the laser pointer, so I'm going to get a little better angle to do that with you. This is actually my 10th budget process, and I think maybe with the exception of 1 year, each budget season and process has gotten harder and more difficult and more complex all along the way. And this year probably the most complex of all in terms of challenges that we face, in terms of the sense of how volatile things are right now. Really at the end of the day, we have to have a balanced budget, which means we have to live within our means. So really an effective plan for finances starts with how predictable or how good are we at predicting what our recurring revenues will be, primarily from our tax base, and then matching up our expenses and being sure that we can fund our services that are necessary. Our crystal ball is never too effective, but this year it's particularly fuzzy because things are so dynamic. We're not at a place right now where revenue is in a solid trend. It's in the downward trend, and so that makes it very difficult to know where will that trend go, how long will it be sustained, and how to plan accordingly. But as the mayor said, in one sense, there's nothing really magic about a new fiscal budget. That's just the point in time that based on state statute, we have to reset and submit to the state a new budget. We manage the budget every day, every week, every month, every quarter, and can make adjustments along the way. And we frankly expect that this budget may have some adjustments to it. We've planned contingencies into our financial plan. From a philosophical basis, what we're trying to do is to strike a balance. The last 8 years, when we've had such difficult financial times, we've tried to operate on a principle that to overreact and cut more services than necessary prematurely is just as bad as underreacting and putting ourselves into financial crisis by overextending ourselves, because we are a service organization. And there are consequences to us cutting our services. And in fact, the more difficult things are out there financially, the more difficult things are out in the private sector from an employment basis. In some cases, there are more demands that are placed on city government and the services that we provide. On the negative side, unfortunately, law enforcement, crime goes up. But on the positive side, the quality of life services that we provide and that taxpayer money heavily subsidizes, those become more important at a time when maybe people can't afford the family vacations that they plan and they're staying home and spending days in our park system or in our library or the other quality of life that we offer. So we're not like an oil and gas business where if you have to bring a rig into the yard, you lay off the associated crew that worked that rig. In our case, the services have to go on, and the demands of the public continues or actually increases. So we'll be monitoring things closely and exercising our due diligence all through the process. There are some, for those of you that have been through this presentation before, the numbers, of course, are always different, but we've had some key slides that the mayor talked about. We talk about our taxes and where they come from and where they go. That's all still in here, but we've added some new elements regarding kind of the big picture of our economic region and how we're currently faring that I think you'll find interesting. So I'm going to start by talking somewhat about the kind of the regional economy, then talk about our current financial status, and then really drill down into our budget process itself, where this budget stands, and then we'll have time for Q&A. So when we talk about Farmington, this is what makes Farmington so unique. Article in the paper this week from a prominent developer out of Albuquerque that's developing the Dick's Sporting Goods and Chick-fil-A and Five Guys and Mattress something and Sleep Number and another place, made a comment that's very true. This area is the regional economic hub for 8 or more relatively large communities, and that's what this is about. You hear people talk about our trade area. Our trade area is defined as this area in this dark circle right here. This is our trade area. It includes all of San Juan County and its population is about 220,000 people. Then in reality, there's a footnote on our data, is that because of the uniqueness of how we are isolated up here, our formal trade area actually expands with a footnote all the way out into the Four Corners region with an estimated population of 307,000. That's why nothing about the city of Farmington fits benchmarks. Someone might say, you know, what kind of a library do you need? How many police officers do you need? How many, parks do you need? We don't fit the benchmarking of normal cities from a budget standpoint, size of employees. In addition to that, we have the Farmington Electric Utility that offers the electric utility for all of San Juan County. So making us a very large government organization. But we have to be staffed for police and public infrastructure and quality of life for an influx of population that's estimated around 100,000 people on weekends, that are different 100,000 people that are drawing from this population of 307,000. Would a town of 45,000 have a Walmart? Probably. Would it have a Sam's Club? No. Would it have a mall like we have? No. Would it have two super Walmarts, which at one time both were record-breaking stores? Of course not. So on, the kinds of amenities and retail establishments we have are really based on these kinds of numbers, not the 45,000 that our city that number is almost irrelevant to any of our planning and really any of our benchmarking as an organization. And then narrowing it down a little bit more, you've been hearing a lot about the MSA. We get real sensitive when the MSA is talked about. It's a two-edged sword. The MSA is all of San Juan County. Farmington Metropolitan Statistical Area. It's named after Farmington because we're the largest population center in that. So when you read in the paper like the infamous story from a week or so ago, Farmington is the fastest shrinking city in America. That was not a correct statement. Farmington MSA, by percentage, was the fastest shrinking population, but that's all of it. Farmington is not the fastest shrinking city in our own MSA, and certainly it's not the fastest shrinking even in our state, but it's only one of 4 MSAs. There are 4 MSAs in our state: Albuquerque, Farmington, Las Cruces, and Santa Fe. We're one of 4. These are federal designations. So when you read articles, the most trailer parks, you read articles about health, crime, domestic violence. There was one, there's a lot of them on literacy. Some of these negative things that you see headlines, they are almost always talking about the Farmington MSA when everything is thrown in the pot together. That includes all of the small incorporated cities, all the way down to Newcomb, all the way up to the border, includes all of the unincorporated areas of San Juan County, and it includes parts of the Navajo Nation. All that is thrown in together, and those stats get reported. So many of those stats that sound negative are not representative of the city of Farmington or the quality of life that we enjoy here. So one of the reasons why this is so important, we've got to maintain wonderful quality of life parks. Let's go ahead and go through those, Teresa. Recreation facilities, and then stop on this one. Because it is part of maintaining our identity and our place as the regional hub. The reason our economy has done as well as it's done, in spite of the oil and gas industry, and I'm going to talk more about economic diversification and what we've accomplished in a minute, but these things are economic based for us in a unique way, because by definition, you've got outside money coming in to our area. So when we get a new retail establishment or something, or when we invest in a park, or one of the things the city council is looking at right now is a family water park. Those aren't just, in our case, nice things. They are absolutely necessary for us to make sure we maintain our place as the economic hub. So when you think about, no, I'm not ready yet. So when you talk about this pie, I hear people say all the time, how many more hamburgers places can we have here? Well, I get it, but there's 2 ways to look at this. We have got to grow the pie bigger, but we also need to grow the pie in quality and in depth. So let me illustrate that in order to maintain our place as the commercial hub of this entire region. So you say, how many hamburger places does a commercial hub of 300,000 need? Well, think about the hamburger. Size, we want to sell more hamburgers. Depth, we want to have more options where people can buy hamburgers. And then quality, we want to have the best hamburgers. All three of those are a way of measuring and identifying and understanding the pie. We want the pie to get bigger, but each piece of the pie might get smaller. But as long as the pie is growing in quality, in size, and depth, that's healthy for our overall economy.